Sometimes, the person who saves your life doesn't stand in the light. They hide where no one remembers, where no one sees, and yet they quietly pull the trigger. Just so you can live one more day. SEAL Team Raven learned that on a night when even the darkness trembled. A thick fog wrapped the treetops like a shroud. The air was so heavy that every breath sounded like metal scraping against the lungs. The Raven strike team moved in silence. 6 men, drenched in sweat, mud, and fear. The original orders were clear. Recon, no engagement. Gather intel and withdraw. But in war, every plan becomes a joke to fate. Raven 1 to Alpha, situation is bad. We're surrounded, requesting immediate support. The radio hissed through the rain like gunfire. Static, then silence. No response. No rescue. Only a cold truth. They had been set up. Sergeant Cole Maddox, the team leader, gripped his M4, eyes scanning the black forest. He could feel each teammate's heartbeat, fast, panicked. No one spoke, but all understood this could be the end. Then, through the chaos, a female voice crackled over the radio. Light, clear and calm as a still lake. Raven 1, I see them. Give me a few seconds. Cole froze. No one on the team had ever heard that frequency. No one had been told to expect sniper support. Who are you? He asked. Doesn't matter, the woman replied. What matters is you want to live, right? Then, bang! A crisp shot tore through the night. An enemy soldier on the ridge dropped as if cut by a string. No one saw where the bullet had come from. No muzzle flash. No sound of racking a bolt. Only the concentrated breathing of someone somewhere in the dark. In the following minutes, shots rang out one by one, unerring, unflinching, waste-free. Every time the firing stopped, the forest fell utterly silent as if listening. The rain still fell, but now it sounded like a ticking countdown. Raven 1, move to grid 17 Delta. Left flank will be clear in 30 seconds. Move now. There was no time for doubt. Cole signaled the team to withdraw. With every step they took, another shot cracked, opening the way, clearing the path. Precise to the impossible. An invisible hand guided them out of death. When the sun rose and the fog lifted, silence remained and enemy bodies lay scattered across the woods. The 6 members of Raven were alive. The one who had saved them vanished as if never having existed. The debrief at Alpha Base was heavy with tension. No one dared speak aloud. Only the ceiling fan whirred steadily above the meeting table. Colonel Marcus. Reeves placed a thick file on the table. On the cover, 2 words classified. He opened it slowly, as if unsealing a ghost. Inside was a photograph. A petite woman, black hair tied back, eyes as deep as an abyss. Evelyn Cross, he said, his voice low. A former marksman from the Phantom program. She's the one who saved you. The room fell quiet. Cole swallowed hard. But she was discharged. Correct. Forced out 18 months ago. For disobeying orders. Reeves turned to the second page. A line printed in red appeared. Mission violation, unauthorized. Engagement to save 12 Marines. Evelyn had once been the unit's best sniper. She could do things even computers couldn't calculate. But during a mission in Syria, she ignored the evacuation. Order to save 12 trapped Marines. She fired for 14 hours straight from positions no one believed possible. She saved them all, but the primary target of the mission, the man she was meant to eliminate, escaped. The result, she was erased from the system. No medals, no honors, no existence. That night, as Raven left the briefing room, Cole paused in the corridor. He looked out at the dark parade ground beyond the barracks. A single light blinked weakly. Like someone's lingering breath, he thought to himself, maybe. Sometimes God borrows the form of someone who's been forgotten. Evelyn Cross, no longer in uniform, yet carrying a vow in her heart, that if anyone were trapped in the dark, she would pull the trigger, even if she had only one bullet left. They say war never truly ends. It just goes silent in the minds of those who survive. Evelyn Cross had never really left the battlefield. It was just, her war had taken a different form. She lived in an old wooden house on the outskirts of Colorado, where snow blanketed the ground year-round and the wind howled through every crevice. The house was small, silent, no photos, no medals, no trace of the life of a soldier. On the table, there was only an old radio and a meticulously cleaned rifle, not because she intended to use it, but because it was the only thing that made her feel alive. Every morning, Evelyn brewed coffee and sat by the fogged window, watching a world from which she had been erased. People laughed, loved, rushed, argued over trivial things, while she sat in that bone-chilling quiet listening to the whispers of her own past. The wind in Syria wasn't like this, she once whispered to herself. There, the wind carried the smell of gunpowder and the breathing of those waiting to die. Every night, Evelyn dreamed, dreams without faces, only gunfire, screams, and the white flashes whenever she pulled the trigger. Sometimes she would wake in the middle of the night, sweat soaking her shirt, hands gripping the air as if holding a rifle. On the wall hung a world map, covered in red pins. Each pin marked a campaign she had taken part in or had been called to, until her name was erased. But some pins were placed later, at locations no one knew, no one reported, no one recorded. Those were Evelyn's traces, a hero in the shadows. That afternoon, as the last light of day filtered through the frosted window, the radio on the table crackled to life. A strange frequency, no call sign, no code, only a trembling male voice, mixed with distant artillery fire. "Hello, can anyone hear me? We're trapped near the border, 2 wounded, out of ammo. If anyone is out there." Evelyn looked up. She knew that sound. Desperation laced with fragile hope. She had heard it hundreds of times before being labeled a rogue soldier. Her finger hovered over the radio button, then she stopped. Her eyes went still, caught between light and darkness. "No, Evelyn. You promised yourself you wouldn't go back." But the voice out of the one on the radio continued, fractured, pleading. "If anyone is out there, don't let us die like this." She stood and walked to a wooden cabinet. Inside was an old metal box, engraved faintly, Phantom Unit, E. Cross. Evelyn opened it. Inside, everything remained as it had been the day she left the military. A worn camouflage scarf, a pair of scopes, a combat knife, and a photo with her old teammates, now only alive in memory. She held the photo, fingers brushing the face of Jackson, her closest teammate, the only one who truly knew what she had sacrificed. If he's still alive, what would he do? Evelyn whispered, "Sit still, or go back out one more time." In that moment, she knew the answer. The old pickup truck left the house as dusk fell. Cold wind cut across her face, carrying snow and the crackling radio signal beside her. "Raven Unit, if anyone can hear me, move north. I repeat, north." The voice faded, but in Evelyn's mind it became a compass. She didn't know why she obeyed, maybe guilt, maybe instinct, or simply, she couldn't sit idly by knowing someone out there needed help. On the road, yellow streetlights lit her face, tired, hollowed, yet eyes still burning like the first day she held a rifle. No uniform, no medals, but still carrying her old vow, leave no one behind. As the truck turned onto a mountain trail, she activated the old radio, frequency 141.2, unused since the Phantom program was dissolved. After a moment, the static cleared, replaced by a familiar voice, older, heavier. "Cross? Is that you?" "Hello, Colonel Reeves," Evelyn replied, voice steady. "I thought you had stopped." "So did I." A pause stretched. Reeves's gravelly voice came through the static. "You know, if you do this, you'll be considered AWOL, right?" "I've been erased from the roster long ago, sir." Her narration slowed, deepened. "You don't seek recognition, you don't need medals, you just need to know you can still save someone." Before cutting the transmission, Reeves added a line, as if knowing there would never be another chance. "Cross, people like you, the world doesn't deserve, but we, the ones you've saved, will never forget." Evelyn was silent, only the wind and the crunch of tires on snow. Her eyes gazed toward the horizon, blending with night. "Don't need anyone to remember, I just need them. Alive." Voiceover, slow cadence, rising background tone. "Some fight for honor, some fight for country, but some fight just to hold on to the humanity left inside them." Evelyn Cross, the woman erased from the army rolls yet never truly leaving the battlefield. A soul still seeking redemption. With hands once stained by blood. Sometimes the quietest people, carry the gunfire of the entire world on their shoulders. There are calls that don't need a ringing bell. As long as your heart still beats, you'll hear them. Evelyn drove through the northern Montana mountains, where endless white snow stretched as far as the eye could see. On the radio, the man's desperate voice had long gone silent, leaving only static. Yet she followed the blurred coordinates amid the interference. Echo Valley, a borderland where law barely existed. The map in her mind automatically charted the terrain. 2 slopes, a mountain crevice, a shallow valley. If anyone was trapped, it could only be there, where sight was blocked and all signals were strangled. Night fell quickly, like a candle snuffed out. Evelyn stopped the truck at the forest edge and opened the rear. Inside were her camouflage gear, her old Barrett rifle, and the backpack that had followed her through countless battlefields. Every scratch on the rifle was a memory, a part of a past she both feared and needed. "The last time you pulled the trigger," she whispered, "it was to save someone. Today will be no different." She stepped into the forest. Each foot sank deep into the snow, wind whistling through the branches like the whispers of old spirits. The moon was hidden, leaving only faint light reflecting on her face and cold sharp. Yet carrying a quiet sorrow, after nearly 2 hours, she climbed a high rock outcrop and scoped the valley below. Flickering lights marked an enemy camp. About 20 fully armed men surrounded a small hut. Inside the hut, she saw movement, a figure tied up, head bowed, dried blood staining the shirt. She zoomed in through her scope. Eyes narrowed. No mistake. This was the one who had called for help on the radio. Oh God. Evelyn breathed. "You're still alive." She measured the distance, 1.2 kilometers, a long shot, but feasible. The only problem? The wind shifted constantly. One slight miscalculation and the bullet would miss, and reveal her position. She knelt, chambered the first round, and slowed her breathing. All sound seemed to vanish, only the heartbeat and the wind whispering in her ears. Beat. Deep inhale. East wind. 12 ms. Distance 1.2 kilometer. Primary target, observation post, wind change in 3 seconds, fire, bang. The bullet cut through the night clean as a verdict. The guard fell before realizing what had happened. Evelyn didn't stop. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3. With every shot fired, a life ended. No pain, no hesitation, only cold. Precise accuracy. Inside her, there was no thrill. Only responsibility, and an indescribable emptiness. With every life that falls, a part of me dies with them. She repositioned, adjusted her angle, and observed the central target. The man remained alive, but weak. 2 enemy soldiers approached, seemingly to finish the task. No time remained. Evelyn exhaled, pulled the bolt and fired. 2 shots rang out, 2 bodies collapsed. At that exact moment, the bound man lifted his head. Their eyes met, over a kilometer apart in the night. In his gaze, she saw fear, but also trust. She slipped down the slope, moving like a phantom. No one could reach him first. Near the hut, she hid behind a boulder and heard engines starting, a group of enemies preparing to retreat. Evelyn drew her combat knife. The steel flashed in the dark. She moved silently, as if the shadows themselves were shielding her. 1, 2, 3. All fell swiftly, silently, before they could cry out. Inside the hut, the bound man gasped, eyes wide in terror. "Don't be afraid," Evelyn's calm, low voice said. "I'm here to get you out." "Who are you?" A person no longer permitted to be asked that question. She cut the ropes and guided him outside. When enemy flares illuminated the area, Evelyn fired a precise shot, detonating a truck behind them. Flames reflected in her eyes long accustomed to fire. During the retreat, he asked hoarsely, "Why did you save me? No one is supposed to be here." Evelyn didn't answer immediately. She only looked at the pitch-black sky, stars obscured by smoke. "Because if I don't, then who will?" They hid in a small cave. Evelyn checked his wounds, bandaging them with torn cloth. He looked at her, astonished by her terrifying calm. "You were a soldier?" "I was. Why quit?" Evelyn remained silent. After a moment she whispered, "I didn't quit. They abandoned me. Outside, enemy helicopters circled, searchlights cut across the snowy landscape. Evelyn raised her scope, adjusted the angle. No trembling, no fear. She had been here hundreds of times, on the line between life and death. When he was tied up, I heard the cry for help I once made myself. Maybe. That's why I couldn't ignore it. She glanced at him one last time before returning to the cave entrance, ready to face the next wave. If I don't come back, head north. There's an old radio station there, and if anyone asks, tell them you were saved by someone who doesn't exist. Voiceover, subtle rising, somber music. Sometimes, to save a life, you must die again. Evelyn Cross knew that better than anyone. The darkness called her name, and she answered, not with words, but with a bullet perfectly aimed, ending slow, reflective pacing. That night, no one knew who she was. No report, no honors. Only a young soldier returned. And a figure vanished into the white snow. Her name, once again, erased by the wind. In war, the enemy isn't always on the opposite side. Sometimes, they carry the same flag as you. 3 days after the rescue in Echo Valley, Evelyn vanished from the map. No signal, no contact. Yet U.S. Department of Defense satellites detected an unusual heat signature in the Western Mountains, the former training base of the Phantom program, where Evelyn once belonged. A special ops team was deployed. Mission: identify, apprehend, terminate if necessary. Target: Evelyn Cross. Evelyn already knew they were coming. She had learned to read their footsteps, not from the ground, but from memory. Among them was someone who had once been her teammate, Logan Pierce, the second sniper in their unit, who had fought alongside her in the darkest missions. Now, he was ordered to take her out if she didn't surrender. The abandoned, snow-covered house in the mountains. Evelyn sat in darkness, rifle on the table, eyes staring out the window, where red searchlights swept across the trees. She knew Logan would arrive first, not because of orders, but because he understood her better than anyone. The door opened. A shadow moved in, light and precise as if every step had been calculated. Cross. Logan's hoarse voice broke the silence. I know you're here. Evelyn didn't answer, only the click of a chambered round. I didn't come to kill you, Logan continued. But if you don't come with me, they will. She stepped from the shadows, moonlight illuminating her face, cold as steel, yet eyes heavy with fatigue. Come with you, Evelyn said with a faint smile, only to be executed in secret as a traitor. You know I don't want that, but you still came with that gun. Only a few steps separated them. Two who had once shared the last bullet in a siege in Fallujah, now standing at opposite ends of a gun barrel. Logan lowered his weapon. I just want to know. Why, Cross? You could have stayed silent, disappeared, but you came back. Why save them? Evelyn gazed out the window, snow falling silently. Because I couldn't forget. Forget what? Forget the feeling of hearing someone call for help and doing nothing. Her voice lowered. That day, I chose to save 12 people and lost everything. But I don't regret it, and if I had to do it again, I'd still pull the trigger. Logan studied her. He knew it wasn't an excuse, and it was the truth. You can't keep living like a ghost. Evelyn, she smiled faintly. I'm not alive. Logan, I just haven't died yet. Outside, helicopters roared again. She saw the distant searchlights. Knew the pursuing team was close. Time was running out. She grabbed her backpack and approached Logan. You have 2 choices, she said. 1, report my location. Earn your medal. 2, turn away and let me do what I must. Logan was silent. Their eyes met. In that moment, the past collapsed around them. All the nights of fighting. Lost teammates, people they couldn't save. Go, Cross, he whispered. I've never seen you here tonight, Evelyn nodded. No thanks. No regrets, only a glance. A farewell that needed no words. She disappeared into the forest. Snow fell thickly, erasing her tracks within minutes. Helicopters swept their lights, soldiers poured in, surrounding the area. But all they found was an empty house. Logan remained, watching the direction she had taken. A teammate approached. Did you see her? No, Logan said, eyes fixed on the sky. Only the wind. That night on a northern mountainside, Evelyn paused by a cliff. She looked down at a distant town, tiny lights flickering in the dense darkness. They always called me a ghost, she whispered. But in truth, they made me into one. She powered up her radio, scanning the old frequency. A distant voice echoed. No source, no name, no face. Phantom. There's still one mission left. Target, Alpha Base, Project Reaper. She closed her eyes. Once again, war called her name, and Evelyn understood there would never be a real escape for people like her. Sometimes, we don't return to the battlefield because of orders, but because the ghosts in our minds won't let us sleep. Evelyn Cross, erased from the records, but still living in every bullet she fires. Darkness doesn't just surround her. It is her, somewhere at the edge of the world. There are people who no longer exist on paper, yet are the reason others survive. And on that snowy night, Evelyn Cross and the Forgotten began her final journey. They always say, war ends when the guns fall silent, but for the survivors, it has only just begun. 7 days after leaving the mountains, Evelyn had been tracking a strange signal pulsing through her old frequency. It led her to an abandoned complex, Alpha Base, once a top-secret research facility under the Department of Defense. But the moment she stepped inside, she knew this place had never been abandoned. The steel doors opened with a biometric scan when her hand was recognized. Evelyn froze. God. They still kept my data. Inside, dozens of screens flickered to life, displaying the faces of soldiers, some dead, some missing, each marked with a small code in the corner. P-Unit, short for Phantom Unit. Then she saw her own face on screen number 7. Codename: Phantom 01 status. Active. Evelyn stepped back, her pulse hammering. No. I was erased. I left. A voice came through the speakers, low, calm, mechanical. Welcome back, Evelyn. We knew you'd return. The far door slid open. A tall man with silver hair and a cold, deliberate gaze stepped forward. General Jonathan Reeve, once the commanding officer of the Phantom program, and the man who had signed her discharge order. Cross, he said slowly, did you really think you could run forever? I wasn't running, Evelyn replied. I was surviving. Surviving? He gave a dry, cruel laugh. You don't understand, do you? You and the entire Phantom unit were never soldiers. You were prototypes. And now that you're here, it means the code still works. Her hand tightened around her rifle. What are you talking about? You were implanted with Directive 01, a latent recall order. Every time you hear the Phantom frequency, your brain triggers a return response. You never left. Cross, you've simply been following orders. You just didn't know it. The world seemed to tilt. Every voice she'd heard through the radio, every pull to come back, none of it was fate. It was programming. What do you want from me? The future of warfare, Reeve said, stepping closer. You are the perfect soldier. No fear, no hesitation, pure execution. And now, I want you to lead the next generation, a new Phantom army. Evelyn laughed, a hollow, broken sound that didn't belong to a human anymore. You took everything from me, Reeve, my team, my honor, my soul, and now you want me to help you make more monsters like me? She raised her weapon, pointing it straight at his heart. No. General, I'm here to end it. The gunshot cracked through the air, but missed. Reeve had anticipated it. He slammed a button on the console. The entire base bathed in red light. Alert mode. Active. From hidden panels in the walls, figures emerged, the next generation Phantom soldiers. Empty eyes. Cold precision, clones of her. Evelyn loaded a fresh magazine. She knew there was no way out. Then she moved. The firefight erupted. Deafening, merciless. Each shot was a heartbeat. Each step forward erased another ghost of her past. She wasn't fighting to survive anymore. She was fighting to end the loop. The base shook violently. Smoke and sparks filled the corridors. Evelyn bled from her arm but kept moving toward the control core. Reeve tried to escape. She caught him at the final exit. You're right, she gasped. Voice raw, I am your creation. But right now, I choose how this ends. She tossed her last bullet at his feet. then pulled the pin on a grenade resting on the main console. "I'm sorry, Logan. I promised I'd stop." A blinding white flash consumed everything. When the recovery team arrived the next morning, Alpha Base was nothing but a crater of ash. No remains. No trace of Evelyn Cross. But weeks later, during an operation in Syria, a SEAL team walked into an ambush, pinned down, hopeless, until their radio crackled with static. And a low female voice cut through. "I see them. Give me 1 second." Shots rang out from the distance, clean, exact, surgical. When the SEALs made it out alive, they asked their commander, "Who gave us cover fire?" The commander frowned. No one. There were no active units in that sector. Evelyn Cross was never recognized as a hero. No medals, no funeral, no name in any archive. But sometimes, through the static of emergency frequencies, a voice can still be heard, calm, steady, heartbreakingly human, in a world that has forgotten what humanity sounds like. Not all who disappear are gone. Some souls choose to stay, in the dark. And when the night grows too quiet, you might just hear a whisper over the radio. "I see them. Give me 1 second."